seriously.
We're back, and I'm so grateful that you guys are bearing with us. I have never seen myself turn. Anyway, so we're back, and I'm here with Liam Beliveau, and I did do the introduction again, but I do want to bring everyone who is basically with us this time. Liam has an incredible gift to share, his insights with the world, and he's here to dazzle us with inspiration, as September is the month of sweet inspiration. So welcome again, and I want you to go ahead and give your intro again, so for those who weren't on are able to actually get a brief insight into how amazing you actually are.
Oh, thanks, Meg. Okay, guys, so hello again. As you may have heard, I do psychic readings, or also known as clairvoyant readings. And I really enjoy them. They're really powerful, and it's all about really accessing your information, right? So you have thoughts all day, mostly of a negative nature, mostly of a negating nature, and they tend to take away from that inspiration, the drive to really connect to your own information, and also your purpose and your passion, what you feel like you were here to do. So reading's really about like pulling away those veils, so you can be like, oh, this is who I am, and then act. Because when you give someone permission to do something and validation to do something, they're much more likely to do it, versus when you're afraid or you see all the reasons why a course of action is not a good idea. So, yeah.
It's amazing. So with that in mind, September with the Magical Guide to Bliss is the month of sweet inspiration. So it comes at us when, for those of you in the north or people who experience the change of seasons, you're experiencing a change all around. So with that change, you can gather the inspiration that's available to you by virtue of nature or even new people that you meet. And like I said before, this conversation with Liam is quite synchronistic, as so to speak, because I wasn't sure I was going to do a live with this month, but I called him because I had a synchronistic hit, I would say, or like an intuitive hit, which is something that you do, in fact, work with, correct?
Correct, yes.
So those intuitive hits in life that you need to pay attention to. So I, in fact, reached out to him, and he said yes. So now we have this magical conversation. I told him at the beginning, I'm so glad it's you, because there's so many things happening for me this next week that I would love to be around magical people who truly believe that that's possibility. So why don't you tell a little bit more about how you see the world, and a little bit about your journey to where you are now.
Yeah, so I've always been really sensitive, and for a while that was really overwhelming, and I felt like kind of a curse, because I'd walk into an environment or a room and I'd sort of pick up on everyone's judgments or expectations or sort of not so subtle opinions about me or themselves.
And they don't even tell you this, though.
No, and they don't tell me this, especially when you come from a family that's really intense and overachievers, which some may or may not have an experience with.
Where are you actually from?
I'm from Maine.
Okay, so you're not even
Family
from
of attorneys.
Oh. There you go. Recovering non, right?
Recovering.
And what kind of impact did that have on your journey, at least as far as where you went with your career path?
Well, I came with like a lot of judgments around what's a good thing to do with your life and what's not a good thing to do with your life. And when you're an intuitive, you don't think on a linear time frame. You take in impressions from the world and you go with it and you create. So for a while, a lot of my 20s was growing and learning who I am and learning to accept that I'm not a cookie cutter person. I'm not going to go get a career and do all these things, and that took a lot of time to accept and ultimately forgive myself that I was.
Forgive yourself? Really? Why forgive yourself?
Because of the sort of judgment that in order to be loved or accepted, I had to fit this mold.
Oh, wow.
And now that I've gone through that journey, I can really see that in other people, where they're struggling to move forward because in the back of their mind they're afraid they won't be loved, or they won't be seen or heard or accepted.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit of what intuitive means to you, so that the audience also understands where you're coming from?
So intuition is that sort of that extra sense that everyone has. It's not something like novel only to psychics. It's just something that I've spent a lot of time working with, so I feel pretty accurate when I look or use it to read information for others. But it's that same hunch you get when you eat something that maybe you shouldn't have ate, or you meet someone that kind of creeps you out.
Oh, so you actually can use those skills to gauge your environment.
Yeah, everyone is intuitive. It's like, how much do you allow yourself to listen to what you're getting? Yeah. And a lot of people don't have a lot of permission.
So when you say when you get an intuitive hit, how do you listen to that guidance? Like, how do you pay attention?
So when I really do a reading, I kind of go into a different state of mind. So my chatter brain that I'm using right now just goes and takes a nap, and then
how do you do that? I'm sure a lot of people would appreciate knowing.
That's really just a meditation technique that I've learned, and I can share down the road, but it's definitely accessible to everyone. It's not. I know psychics are usually portrayed as these freaks of nature, but it's a skill that you can get if you're interested and you're inquisitive and you take the time. Really, it's just practice like everything else.
Yeah, I want to go back a second because of the blip in my technological environment here. I want to give the background of Liam because I think it's really important for those who are here checking in, listening about Sweet Inspiration. He actually has been doing clairvoyant and psychic readings for 10 years now, and he's actually taken that talent and that out of the box talent as you speak, because you say you're hanging around attorneys a lot in your family, so that must have been very courageous to actually venture out on that path. But you've done it. You've taken those tools and you've kind of fine-tuned your own so that you can help empaths and other individuals kind of navigate the highly sensitive world that we live in at this point in time, and so that they could best use their gifts and serve as well. So I wanted to give that back to you all, and so this is where he's coming from as far as being able to have psychic readings with clients to help them move forward. And he's not freaky, he's actually awesome, and it's amazing to be even in his presence because he does have a calming effect. So about when in your life did you realize that this was something that you might want to do?
Probably when I was around 20. I'm 31 now, just so everyone knows.
So young.
I was going to school in Boulder, which is sort of a very liberal town, and there was a lot of opportunities to pursue healing arts. And I got a reading from a psychic, and it really resonated with me. And I was like, wait, I think I can do this, and I did some trainings. And then I just started reading publicly, and people corroborated what I said, that it was accurate, and then it just starts to grow.
So is Boulder a vortex? I've heard something to that effect. Like certain parts of the country, there's like heightened energy.
Yeah, I think for sure there's a lot of energy in Boulder. It's not just on a cultural level, but geographically, it's the High Sierra. It's a lot of height, and it's just a lot of sun all day, and a lot of progressive and sort of alternative people sort of converge there, and there's like a lot of cool things going on. And so to answer your question, it's definitely a vortex, and even the Native Americans speak about the vortex.
Wait, can you explain a little bit as to what vortex is?
So
because
vortex,
people might not understand.
It's sort of thrown around a lot in New Age, but vortex can really mean a lot of things. For me, it means like a concentration of energy or convergence of energy, where there's or power, where you can go and feel something greater than what you're accustomed to feeling.
And when you're there, like, do you actually feel a difference in the vibration and the energy around you, or?
Yeah, I do. I mean, you can. It's really like zing.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
So it actually affects your intuitive abilities.
I was very hungry when I was there. My metabolism.
Oh really?
Oh
really?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So how long were you in Boulder then?
I was there for about 7 years, and it sort of paralleled my university studies. So I was, in and out of school, and I also did my intuitive training. So I was there for a while.
But you're educated as a writer, right?
Yes, yeah. So I have a background in psychology, and writing and neuroscience, and then, so I do that still. But I'm really working with building my intuitive reading practice now. So,
what have you done to further that as far as, branching out now after 10 years? I mean, I know many people, just open up your life and say, okay, here I am. I'm ready to, this is my good job, there you go. And it's kind of a slow process into becoming who you always understood yourself to be, right?
Yeah, it took some time. And like a lot of it, the sort of irony of it being a psychic is, though I can read everyone else really well, looking at my own stuff is, not always the easiest. And a lot of that is, permission to be who I am in the world.
I love that. Permission to be who you are in the world. I mean, a lot of people, kind of follow the path of least resistance, perhaps because your family encourages it. I certainly know that it's not move outside the box, you stay within your lane. But when you actually say yes to something that's kind of unorthodox as far as a career direction, it takes a lot of guts. And what brought you to that decision where you're just like, okay, guys, that is not for me. I will not be in court. Which, funny enough, you're around a lot of attorneys, Liam, which is interesting, right? Yeah, exactly. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your career, how it actually really unfolded after you got to Boulder, and maybe between your two educations?
Yeah, it was very circuitous. So it always been like back my mind, like, okay, I should do this more. Every time I give a reading, it's such a joy to do because it's such an intimate space to be with someone in a really depth way, in a way that they may not even share with themselves, let alone the world.
Yeah.
And so even though I always took jobs, there was always that nagging, like, I gotta, and it was sort of like, oh, I'll just ignore that because that's inconvenient right now. And no, it would keep getting louder and louder until it was like I'd actively have to deny it if I were to not do it.
Would people come up to you and say, hey, I heard that you have this gift, can you read for me? Or would you actually offer it to other people?
Yeah, people will do that, and I'll usually be like, sure, we can set up a time for a reading, because to really do a reading accurately, it requires me to be in a sort of in a space where it's quiet and I can go inward. There is a lot of sort of sensationalism in the psychic world where people want to know these predictive fates, and mine's more about, let's look at the places where you're holding yourself back and you have free will, so you can create anything you want at any time. Nothing's frozen,
Oh, that's so empowering, like to actually, look, I totally hear what you're saying. People go to a psychic, so tell me the future and tell me what I have to do to not do something that's going to happen bad. But you're saying it's very different.
Yeah, because that takes away your agency. If someone else is saying this is what's going to happen, then you're limiting the expression of your will, your expression of your power and your choices. Wherein if I say these are probabilities, what do you want to do? And let's look at ways that we can take away those obstacles, usually self-imposed, that are preventing you from going there.
Wow. So have you ever had an experience with a client in that sense where you just saw the person shift their energy totally and they're like a total aha, like, oh my God.
Yeah, I've read total skeptics who, when I read them, I can just see in their aura, like, prove it. This whole prove it thing to me.
So when you say the aura, it's just the energy.
Yeah, the energy is coming at you is very very polarized, very, you can tell they're in their mind a lot, like they're used to that world. And then you start to just, you start to talk and you start to speak to them, the part of them that they know is true, and then they let down their guard, and then they really start to open up. And usually a lot of people that are holding on to a lot of judgment, they're very rigid, they have a lot of, sometimes.
But it's true, because judgment is that basically kind of pigeonholes you into a life that you don't really want.
Right, and it's all to cover up that insecurity of wanting to be loved and validated, because if they didn't, a lot of people didn't got that, so they sort of feel like, well, if I can't have it, no one else can, and they'll sort of occupy that space. So once people can take down those barriers and those defenses, they can really blossom. And I've seen people totally, like, years of pain and grief and or grief from their families that they were holding just evaporate, and they're like, wow, I feel amazing. So
as far as like a world vision, when you come to the table with this, what is it that you want to do with your gifts then?
I really want to continue to read people. I'm in the midst of developing a course so people can access their own intuitive abilities, and it's a practical how-to way, so that it's digestible and daily focused. And then the interim, to continue to read people.
So what would a course look like?
A course would be a way to sort of teach you how to meditate. So these tools aren't just mental abstractions, but these are actual things that you can utilize in your life. Well, how do I calm down the chatter in my brain? Like, how do I turn the volume down? The analyzer.
Because I'm sure if you pull anybody who's out there, we deal with the chatter on in a continuous basis, because life doesn't seem to stop, especially when we're tuned into technological.
Yeah, and technology is constantly giving you sense inputs, and you're constantly getting sensation inputs, and so meditation is a necessity. Otherwise, you're overwhelmed, and it sort of keeps you from relaxing, coming back into your center, which is really how you move forward in life.
I would love to invite anyone out there who has a question for Liam to go ahead and put it on the feed on the side, and we'll be happy to answer them as well. I think it's actually very interesting because, for so many years when you talk about like a psychic and the psychic readings and this, that, and the other, I get kind of scared because, like you said, oh my God, I don't want to really hear, because I think, oh my God, all the bad things he's going to tell me, oh my God. And then it's that fear, and then at the same time, as you speak, you're like the probability of free will is a part of it. So you can actually make those decisions, to shift yourself into a different way. And I love that you said that. And if you go to it's like an empowerment kind of experience, right?
Yeah, totally. And it's also about having fun and getting out of seriousness.
Yeah.
And shifting your perspective, seeing the bigger picture, and being able, it's a whole new perspective, a whole new way of looking at things. That's so much of the healing too.
Yeah. When you talk about healing, I think that we were talking about this before, but there's a lot of attention anxiety in society nowadays, and it's people are desperate for healing, or they're desperate for some relief, releasing the struggle. And I know we were talking about it before. So what exactly would you bring to the table, like in that instance where you have individuals who clearly are weighed down by the extra load of the energy that they bring to the table? I mean, they come to you. Like, how do you offer them, or how do you kind of guide them if in fact that's the case, or that's your role, or maybe it's not your role?
No. I both read energy and I also do healings, and in healing you're changing the energy of your aura, and your aura is your electromagnetic field that everyone has, and it permeates outwards.
Can you see the color of the aura?
Yeah, it's colors. Yeah. Sometimes it's really colorful. They're changing all the time. If someone in a lot of pain, it'll be like black and kind of like crusty.
Although black is a good color to wear, but I don't know if you want your aura to be like that.
You can dress in black.
Oh yeah,
black's always
you can wear it, but you don't want to. Oh yeah, for sure, right?
Or sometimes there'll be other things in there like beings. It comes like a whole wide new world. It's sort of fun.
Oh wow. In your aura?
Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh wow. So can you read your aura?
Yeah, I can. I can look at it. And that's fun to be really objective, because sometimes we'll be like, oh, I'm da-da-da-da-da. And then when I really look at it, I'm like, no, it's just a, impression from my family when I was 4 that carried on. And
that you carry with you and until you release it. So how do you, help people release?
Yeah, so with the releasing part, I actually guide through people like a meditation where I show them how to physically ground their bodies, release the energy, move it out of their aura so their nervous system is no longer charged with fear or pain, or whatever cyclical thoughts that are keeping you in a state of hyper arousal. And then once that moves through, then you can really see your information, because someone's not like, oh my God, what's coming at me?
I can also imagine if you see me coming at you, I'm like, holy God, please stop her now, stop her. No, it's funny because I say that at a time that tonight is the harvest full moon, and it is a moon about releasing, and you plant the seeds. Maybe you can give a little bit. Do you have any knowledge with regard to that?
In the moon, this is a great time. You can plant the seeds, your intentions, what you want to manifest, what you want to ripen, what you're working on. It's like in Sanskrit, they call it a sankalpa, which is your intention. And
Sankalpa?
Sankalpa. Oh. So it's really about you're actually, the whole point really is to entrain your conscious and your subconscious mind to work together for something.
Right.
So even if your conscious mind not thinking about it, there's a part of you that's supporting you in that endeavor moving forward. Wow. And that's really that point. That's where ritual can really come into our lives and support us, because it's another way to move our objectives forward, because there's an accountability support.
So if you're facing not that I'm speaking for myself at this point, but if you're, I'm gonna get good use out of it, Liam, while he's here now. So if you're facing a big opportunity, or if you're facing something that's causing you great consternation, like your concern or your worries or whatever, what can you do, as working with you, by the way, to empower yourself through the experience so that you can essentially manifest and realize the dream that you are in fact seeking.
Yeah, the biggest thing with obstacles and the thing what they generate is fear. You know, and when people get infected with fear, it sort of shuts down their creative channels. They're like, well, these are all the reasons why it's not going to happen.
Right.
Blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Watch me put all this energy and it not happening now.
Yeah.
So,
No. Whoosh, whoosh.
Look, it didn't happen. See, I was right.
Yeah, no. So you will act like a self-fulfilling prophecy,
Correct.
right? Because
Yeah.
you kind of evolve into.
And then we get to look at like those ways where you self-sabotage and move that pattern out of your nervous system.
Yeah.
And then boom, you have all this space to create now that
Yeah.
isn't taken up with toxic real estate.
Yeah. Which is probably very difficult because, you know, what you were talking about before is what you bring the chatter of your childhood into the present moment. You kind of bring the baggage, so it always pops up when you undergo nerves or anxieties.
And you're so familiar with it that even if it's actively obstructing your life, at least it's familiar.
Yeah.
At least it's safe.
You wouldn't go for someone else's problems. You know your own, right?
It's comfortable,
Yeah.
and you know if you don't have to stand in your power, then you won't fear getting hurt. You know, you can stay in your protective little bubble
Right.
where nothing
That's amazing.
happens.
Yeah.
And even if you know that that's what you're doing, you know that impulse is so strong. Like you're saying, the least resistance.
Yeah.
That's such an innate biological drive. You know, it does take a lot of effort to be like, no, I'm not going to do that.
But, you know, I find it really interesting because I was saying to, you know, as we get older, we put up defensive walls, right? And those defense mechanisms keep out the bad, it will keep up, but it'll also keep out the good. So when you're talking about or working with people to have them release the fears and bring down their defensive walls, it'll open them up to joy, right? And you know, imagination that you can bring to the fore and all this other stuff too. So like say, do people come to you generally with problems, or do they come to you just as an open...
Both, you know, people have specific problems and issues in their life that they're struggling to overcome, or they just want a general read of like, oh, where am I, who am I, what am I doing, what's my point, what's my purpose, and both are valid, and sometimes it's both. A lot of times it's both.
Right.
And as to your point, you know, I'm not saying you have to be totally open and like be a doormat either. We're having like a permeable membrane, right? So it's selective. I can bring in positive inputs and exclude hostile or negative or draining people or thoughts or whatever. So it's a both and, you know.
Do you think that, okay, people, I think like you said before, they want validation in their life, right? They want to be acknowledged and validated and empowered. Really, they do. Because I think people, if you could tell, I have something here, it's invaluable. I mean, I can help you kind of navigate any issues that you have by helping you find a solution, by helping with you to find a solution. As a psychic, when you deal with other people, how do you go about, you know, working with that other person and saying, listen, you build the confidence, you build the trust, and then you move forward?
Yeah, you know, everyone's different, and I try to be as open-ended and, you know, look, and again, it's all about what the energy presents. You know, where is someone, where are they ready to hear, how much can they hear, you know.
You're like, I don't know, maybe you don't want to know anything, you know.
You don't need to like, you know, growth isn't always about exploding everything and, you know, total epiphany all the time. It can be like, it can be a total, it can take one step forward, and that can be huge for someone. But the whole life is about, oh, I can't take that step because if I do, then...
Can you help people who are in physical pain in their body?
Yeah. You know, obviously there's not a panacea or a substitute for medical treatment, but yeah, you know, looking at the energy, also as a medical intuitive, I've done readings where I can see blocked energy or people are experiencing health problems, and looking at on a sort of psycho-emotional level, a lot of times there's a huge emotional component to disease, and so you can sort of see, not always, but sometimes, wow, there's a lot of stuck rage in that person that's repressed it for years because they're always trying to be nice.
The smile.
You know,
the constant
and then,
smile,
you know,
right?
That's a huge person that really comes out to seek healing because they're a giver. They overgive and then they exhaust themselves. And then they have all this own internal needs that they can't address because they don't have the energy, and, you know, in their family group growing up, that wasn't allowed.
So they repress it, and basically you help them to at least identify the emotions that they can release because of the aura.
Right. So much of it's just becoming aware. You know, once you're really aware of something, you know, you pop out of the pattern.
And you know, it's funny that you say awareness, because I think awareness is huge. My life has changed because I've become incredibly aware as to the forward momentum in your life, right?
Right.
So when you pay attention, you know, be astonished, and then want to tell about it, you want to share with other people the opportunities that you know exist out there that can relieve people of so much pain and struggle and suffering. And I was like looking at the whole idea of like the release the struggle is what people want, because that brings in the joy, and it's only once around we have, right?
Yeah.
So might as well enjoy it, right? So whatever we can. So
Totally.
like what like for instance, if someone came to you and said, okay, so this is, or I don't know, how does it work? Like how does the whole dynamic start?
You know, so when I start a session, I go into meditation. I call it like a meditative trance, and I ask them to say their name. And your name carries your frequency, because when you're reading,
Really?
there's no space-time continuum. So
Oh.
I mostly do over the phone readings, and people are really far away from me.
Really?
So we
Oh.
do a reading, and then I just I kind of tune in,
Oh,
and then I
that's
start
cool.
to see your aura, your story, what we call pictures, which is like thoughts or beliefs frozen in time, where I can be like, oh, you're carrying a lot of this right now, or this is something you're experiencing right now. This is where your soul's learning right now.
That's so cool. But
Yeah.
I just want to go back. The name, like
Yeah.
that's so interesting. Like my name, Meg. Like what comes
I would
with
say,
that?
can you say your full name 3 times?
Oh,
And so I'm getting,
okay.
and it starts to, in my mind's eye, I start to see,
Your real name, your given
yeah,
name.
your given name. And
yeah.
sometimes people will have their name will change, right? They'll get married, or they'll legally change their name. So I'll ask whatever name they really identify with. And then, we'll start that, and then I'll start to see, I'll start getting impressions. And, I'll pretty much do an overview of your aura and your space, what I'm seeing. And then we can go into other issues that I'm seeing, and then of course you can always interject and ask questions, or look at, whatever you want to look at. It's your time.
So you encourage dialogue during the...
totally.
Okay, that's really interesting, because I
Yeah.
don't know whether you have to be quiet and just like sit and listen and like...
No, it's
Your
a
life story is
co-creative.
coming out.
It's
Yeah.
co-creation.
I love it, deliberative co-creation. I love that.
Yes.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So you're just kind of the mechanism by which
Yeah.
people can get to know themselves
Yeah,
better.
it's really just you're really just healing yourself, and I'm just the guide, opening the door so you can walk through it.
Have you ever felt like you were healed by virtue of a synchronistic meeting with a client that you come into contact
all the
with?
time. I mean, so much of reading others is reading yourself. So
Explain that.
I mean, when I see something in someone, most of the time I can see a sort of parallel issue or an experience that I've gone through myself, so I can relate to them. I'm not like in the sanctimonious bubble where I can, just say things.
Wearing your white robes as you come and say, like, okay, I get that.
I'm human too. So, a lot of it is about seeing, ourselves expressed in everyone else.
Wow. It's like a karmic mirror.
Yeah,
right? Someone
totally.
said that to me today. They were like, it's like when you see something, you can see yourself mirrored back by who
Right.
you're surrounding yourself with. I think that's very interesting. But anyway, so
Yeah.
tell me, what was one of the most profound experiences that you have in fact had?
Well, when I was really first starting it, I was like, okay, am I like really a psychic? Like, whatever. And,
like I'm making this up. I'm like,
and I was like, okay, so I'll just put it to work in a really self-serving fashion.
Yeah.
So I,
well, that's honest.
I sort of intuited like when the next, like how many miles until I saw the next police officer so I could speed.
Oh, so you're testing yourself.
Yeah, and it was like on the dot, like I tested it. And it was like, wow, it was exactly on the 10th of the mile, and it just like blew my mind,
Oh, that's pretty
So,
cool.
and then, there would just be other things, like people like, how would you know that? There was no, I wasn't trying to be like, impress them, but it would just sort of happen. So, that, or sometimes, I don't try to be a psychic, like, finder, but, sometimes I'd be like, oh, your keys are under that rock. Like, I didn't know. I just knew that they were there.
Yeah.
And
Because
they
the
were
keys hold energy as well, right?
Everything has energy.
Everything has
energy.
energy.
So, actually the entire, is energy. So,
Okay.
like, this chair, everything.
Explain that, because I think that's so important. I personally think that's so important. It's changed my life by thinking of, the energetic, because it's really true on the scientific level. it's proven that everybody is energy, right?
Yeah.
Equals MC squared, Einstein, the whole
That's
idea.
right. Everything, everything is physics. Everything is quantum. So basically that means everything at an atomic level is vibrating. Obviously, there's still three-dimensional objects, but the point in that is that the liberation in knowing that is that everything can change. Everything that you perceive as real and immovable and fixed can change, especially emotions, especially fears and panic and traumas that you think are like, that's the hand you're dealt, and oh well.
So you're not stuck.
Yeah, you're not stuck.
That's like really nice to know.
Everything
that you're not stuck.
is in flux.
Yeah.
And then we're trained to see things like, oh, this chair is always the same, or oh, that light is always the same, but it's not. On a subatomic level, it's constantly flux. We just can't see that, with our senses as they are. But as we go deeper, we start to feel like, okay, yeah, no, everything is a constant flux, and that we've sort of been conditioned to see things. Oh, this is the way it is.
Like you were saying, linear or in 3 or 2D or 3D, or whatever you want to say.
And that's just a conditioning, but that doesn't mean it's real. Yeah.
Well, I think even with the energy, what you were talking about, and like on the quantum, like I think a good example would be when you're coming into a crowded room. And like sometimes you're like, oh, I need to get out of here. Like, oh my God, get me out of here. I'm sure with you being such a highly intuitive person that you're either be like, oh, I can stay here forever. I'm so happy. Or you're like, oh my loving God, I need to take a shower now and wipe it all off my body because I feel like so, you take on the energy of the people that surround you. So that's very important when you're like start to become aware, like we were saying, and get really intuitive as to where you find yourself, because you can actually say no.
Yes,
and leave.
yes, totally.
Right.
As you become more aware, you start to get a lot more selective about the environments you put yourself in, because they're no longer just these, places that you happen to be walking through. You be impacted by them. So if you're spending time in a heavy metal rock concert before, and that was like your best thing, maybe as you do more intuitive development, you'll be like, wow, that's a lot of energy.
Yeah, heavy metal rock concert. What happens? You just explode.
Or maybe if you're light, partier. It's not to say you can't do that, but I think as you grow in your sensitivities, you become more selective, because when you're sensitive, a lot of energy, it can just knock you over.
Well, and you said too that everyone is intuitive inherently. Yes. They all have like a sixth sense, right? Is that the correct?
Yeah, everyone is a sixth sense, and like I said, I still go to concerts all the time. I know, but I'm also do a lot of self-care. Like I'd be like, okay, I'm not going to stay up to 5 a.m. today, or okay, or I'm going to manage my space, so I'm not going to take in the whole concert into my aura, and just be like.
kind of fidgeting.
Why do I have insomnia for 6 days?
I know. Oh my God, that's so funny. It's true though, right? Because it really affects you, and you don't realize it until you actually realize it.
And that's the same way with those negative habitual thoughts.
Yeah.
They really affect you, and if you get accustomed to it, you forget that you're negating yourself unconsciously.
Right, which is really kind of, self-sabotaging at the same time. It's really cruel to yourself. Really cruel, like you're hurting yourself by doing that, and you don't realize it.
Yeah, and you don't, and you just becomes, you don't even think about it. And the whole point is to reverse it, so you don't even think about the ways you're empowering yourself. It's just automatic. You just go over the opportunity.
So as far as I like to say that I like to say that sometimes it's very magical. Like I keep calling myself Magical Megan. I know, I feel like I am, and when I own it, like people I'm sure roll their eyes a lot of times at me, like, what is she talking about? Is she crazy? And I think that was really hard for me as being a part of the world of attorneys, because people just don't get it. It's like the Muggles and the Wizards, and the Muggles and the Wizards, and da-da-da-da-da. Anyway, but basically a lot of my friends are very open to that mindset, because it actually, when you do start thinking about the world on a more conscious level of awareness, you start to open yourself up to like really magical things, which I always start my day or when I remember something wonderful is going to happen, and then it aligns with the energy that I'm putting out there. And you notice so let's say as a psychic reader, like when you are actually bringing in your day, can you tell like when it's going to be a really incredible experience, and can you tell when it's not going to be so much so?
Yeah, a lot of it, again, it comes back to my perspective, or like what foot I'm going out of, and am I really leading from a place where I want to create and be empowered, or am I sort of letting my vague insecurities dictate oh, well, let me just procrastinate that. And I don't want to look at it.
You're vague, and so you're insecure too. What is
yeah.
that?
Yeah,
What is
you
that?
know, being psychic just amps everything.
Yeah.
So, you know, it amps the great, and it can also amp like, wow, you know, places where I'm not okay or happy or accept myself. So, you know, I'm
so
in this
true.
together. You know, the psychic gift, you know, it's a great, it's a powerful gift. But in order to hold it, you know, I have to also clean house and look at myself.
So you kind of honor the gift too. That's actually beautiful. That's why self-care is really so important, because when your vessel is as clean as it can possibly be, I mean, we're all human, but when that happens, then we can bring in so much more, and we can protect ourselves really from so much more. So you act, and you start to become more confident and more secure with that.
Yes, and it's just it's a building block. You know, everything has momentum. Like, what are you going to feed momentum towards? You know, something that's going to take away your power, or something that's going to give it to you.
So we have some people on our feed tonight. Could you get a sense, or do you have to have them say their name 3 times before you can get a sense of the community that has come to listen to what you have to say?
Well, you know, I mean, like I said, like usually when I do a reading, I kind of go into a trance, and then I can address them on one-on-one. But you know, looking at the group energy in a very casual, superficial way, like it looks like everyone is really, you know, attracted to growth and self-development, and wanting to overcome, not necessarily overcome anything bad, but just, you know, wants to increase the options and increase the possibilities for their life. And you know, that's definitely someone that is interested in my work, and in the work that you do is how can I become the best version of myself? Right,
and then the word growth, you know, growth, and then, you know, it's the wisdom we gain after the time it passed, and we learn from the good and bad. Mm-hmm. And for you can kind of help people navigate the next based upon what they already have in fact learned, which I think is really quite amazing, because you use the experiences that people have had, and you can really shift them and change their lives as far as how they experience this world.
Mm-hmm. And then and after we do a session, you get all the learning, but we can also heal, so you can actually physically feel light and clear. So it's not, you're no longer carrying that baggage with you. So like you can just put the baggage down and leave it there and keep going.
So on this kind of night where they have this huge full moon, I mean, I wish we were doing it outside, because the moon is gorgeous and you can see it off the balcony. Mm-hmm. What would you encourage people who are listening now to go out and do, as far as like a ritual, you said?
Yeah, a ritual. I think tonight is a great, you know, as is the moon. This is a great opportunity to write down something that you've been really thinking about, or like, should I do this, should I not? And just kind of go for it. Like, take that leap. Like, write that down, even if you're like, this is crazy.
Especially, it's fall too. It's like we're really in fall, even though in Miami it's 80 degrees, maybe still 90s, right? It's fall, so there are change of seasons at this point. Maybe not so significant down here, but it's certainly up north. The leaves are changing. So with the change in nature, you can also take that element or that effort to change what you want to see change in yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Changes of the seasons are a great time, because it's like that motif is out in nature. You know, the symbolism of change is everywhere. So it can really galvanize the change that you want.
Which is very cool, because especially if you feel like you're on a really good positive path in your life, and certainly you're open to it. You're open to that new experience. And you know, I wanted to bring this up too, because I know because of how do you, like, I know there's a lot of anxiety in the air, a lot of tension with politics and social issues now, and it's, you know, it pervades everything that we do. It really does. It's so hard to, you know, sometimes turn it off, like, so to speak, you know.
Right.
What would you say or would recommend, or, you know?
Yeah, so there, you know, there's a constant, like Meg was saying, there's so much information, and it can be overwhelming. And so what I really do is try to come into my own third eye, or try to come back in my body, come out of the analyzer, the mind that's constantly reacting, having an opinion. What do I do? It's also trying to fix it. There's like unconscious, like, what do I do to fix it? how can I fix this?
Yeah.
And you know, all those thoughts actually like take your agency away.
That's so true.
So when
you say take your agency away, do explain.
Yeah,
that.
so it sort of puts you this impossible thing. Either I solve all the world's problems, you know, by
tomorrow,
by next Tuesday,
yeah.
or like I'm a useless person, you know,
Yeah.
because it's that impossible thought.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of it's about coming back into your own, you know, peace, your center. You know, people say it different ways, and giving yourself permission to be like, no, I'm just going to take the next best step for me, because you are part of the world. You're
that's so
taking
important.
that the world's not this separate entity that
Yeah.
you're interacting with. It's like you're part of the community.
We
So-
all are interconnected.
Right.
You and I right now, I'm totally feeling really calm because you're bringing in this really calm energy. But we're all impacting each other, you know, with what we bring. And you're right. We're all part of the world. So, you know, I love that you're saying that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then knowing that we are interconnected, how in fact do you advise people to go out and impact their world in many ways?
You know, like when I work with someone, we really get, you know, you get calm, clear, and centered, but we also get you really clear about what you're doing, where you're going, what you want to be doing, you know.
Yeah.
And so the more clarity you have around that, you know, regardless of I do a reading with you or not, but just being centered and grounded, that's going to that's going to push you a lot further than, oh no, I'm reacting to everything. Let me just sit here and react for another 24 hours.
You're just like, oh, I can't even move now. Right?
Maybe if I react for another 7 days, then everything will be better. You know, that never does anything, but we do it.
Yeah.
We think that maybe if I read one more news story about the world ending, then I will be.
There you go. That'll make me sleep really well tonight.
You
Right?
know, it doesn't work that way.
No.
You know, and so when you get into amusement, you know, that's something we talk a lot about in the energy world, and that's not necessarily you're laughing about everything, but it's a sort of perception shift. Like, okay, I don't have to take it so seriously.
Oh, I
you know,
love
the world's
that.
not going to end.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, this is a great time of change, and so has every century been through the last 3,000 years. You know, I'm here for the ride. I don't need to. I'm not Atlas. That's not my role in life.
No.
So.
God, right? That's
yeah,
huge
so give yourself
responsibility.
permission to relax into what you're going through, the journey that you're on, what you're learning about, and take yourself off the hook. Like the world's going to keep being the world long after we're gone.
Right. Wow, that's really cool. And you know, this is sweet inspiration. So I do want to go back to the word inspiration.
Right.
You know, and the whole idea behind the inspirare is breathe in, like the Italian word. Inspirare means to breathe in. Yeah, esperare, right? Breathe out. So when you said you ground yourself before you do that, you go into a trance, but that's because you breathe in, right?
I breathe in. I think of like a tree trunk going from the base of my spine to the center of the earth, because the earth will take your energy. It doesn't care. It doesn't think like, oh, this is bad energy. I don't want it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like trees taking in our carbon dioxide. They want it so they can produce oxygen. The same way the earth takes in our energy, it recycles it, and then you're not like holding it in your space.
Yeah.
You're not tense. And just relax, breathe. You know, it's just as simple as that. Energy is just a thought. It's not this hugely complex technical process. It's just like, let me just relax.
And then, you know, you and I find that when you focus on words, also because and you're a word person too, obviously, the writing, and you know, when you like focus on words like love that changes.
Yeah.
It changes. It's like the
water.
The water. Yes. He knew what I was gonna say. I don't know why. I have no idea. You must be a psychic. But you know, it's like how you speak at water, and they say on a molecular level.
Right.
If you speak love to the water, it looks beautiful on a molecular level, and you speak hate, it has jagged edges.
Right.
And it's like yeah. So that's kind of like what you do to actually yourself, right?
And you're mostly water. So if you're imbuing yourself with negativity all day, it's going to take away from you. Whereas, you know, you can just flip the switch. And granted, sometimes there's a lot of pain, and so it's not like, oh, that was.
You're like the smile again because you're shoving it down, right?
Yeah, it's not like don't be inauthentic, don't fake it. You know, if you're feeling the blues, that's okay. But you know, be gentle with yourself, be compassionate.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Compassion is what's going to change that frequency.
Wow. So, you know, at the outset, I told you to get intention and pick a number, because the number will correspond with the number in my book, and that'll be the message that you'll leave today for everyone on this day of September and sweet inspiration. So did you happen to come up with a number?
Yes, it was 15.
15. So you're gonna read it. Do you?
Okay.
You're 31. You don't need glasses. I was like, yeah, you don't need that. Everybody else, me maybe, but yeah, for sure. So here you go. Oh wow, this is a beautiful one. So this is number 15. So go ahead.
Okay. So this is for January 13th, and it is commit positively to the I am. Remember, the thoughts that you think and the statements you make regarding yourself determine your mental attitude. If you have a worthwhile objective, find the one reason why you can achieve it rather than hundreds of reasons why you can't.
Yep.
Napoleon Hill, author of Think and Grow Rich. So that was definitely what we were talking about today.
Yeah.
So to take charge of your mind, simply set out with an I am statement that empowers you. If you feel overwhelmed, state I am strong and move through any challenging time with conviction. If you feel insecure, state I am a success and start to believe those words to be true as you become the best possible you. If you feel sad, state I am hopeful and seek positive support to help you break through to a better place. Take charge of whatever you want to manifest in your life by changing your own mental chatter.
What we just said.
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, there you go.
Do your best to set aside the negativity that can get you stuck and start programming your mind with visions of what is possible.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
The world can deliver some difficult blows at times, but with your I am resolve, you can kickstart your potential into reality. Do your best to know that there is good and that it is in process. Then plant the seeds that strengthen your positive mental attitude and give yourself a chance to grow. This is your journey, and you will take it where you want to take it. Make your choices rather than allowing your choices to be made for you. Fear not, if you dare to dream with an I am state of mind, the tools you need to accomplish what you set out to do will come to you. With determination, perseverance, and uplifting statements about your potential, nothing can stand in your way.
That's right, nothing.
And this is the magical key
Yeah.
to bliss.
To help you in your, like, I don't know, open up maybe your psychic abilities as
open
well.
up that third eye,
Yeah.
write out one strong I am statement, and repeat it throughout the day.
So, what would be the I am statement that you would write?
I am joy.
Oh, I love it. You are joy. You absolutely are joy. I know, I hear this and I was like, the harvest moon, the planting of the seeds, the building of the life that your dreams, stepping out of your own insecurities so you can see what you're made of actually, and then turning it around and grabbing people to come with you and enjoy the experience because you are joy, and this was very joyful to be here with you tonight, sharing your gifts, because I know for certain, I know many people probably have already been helped by you, and that you're going to continue to do the same by using those incredible abilities to empower, to help heal, and to guide others to actually look within themselves so that they can be the change that they want to see in this lifetime. So that being said, I wanted to invite all of you, I'm going to put it in the feed. Liam can be found at www.growwithliam.com. If you're interested in talking to him after tonight, I definitely encourage you to do so. He is an amazing person. I really enjoyed our friendship. It's been like, what now, 2 years?
Yeah, 2
and
years.
every time I see him, I'm like, Liam's here! So I know I'm very grateful for his friendship, as well as just the beautiful experience getting to know you better and seeing magic unfold as it does. And certainly, Liam, you're amazing. Other people think so as well. See, I'm like, a big fan. So I would certainly encourage you guys to reach out to him. I'm going to give his contact information in the feed as well afterwards. And I want to leave you tonight with Liam getting the last word. What would you want to leave everyone as they conclude September, because this is our last week of our Sweet Inspiration in September, and what would it help them, or any kind of inspiration that you might share with everyone tonight?
I think the most inspiring thing is to really listen to your heart, and I know that's sort of tired trope, but it's really true. Listen to that voice where right before you second guess yourself, it's quiet. It's not going to scream at you. Sometimes it might whisper to you. And just follow that, because that's usually has your back more than more than the loud.
Yeah, the
loud
monkey mind chatter.
The discursive thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So keep your heart open, right?
Keep
And
your heart
listen
open
to it.
and listen.
And then God only knows what kind of amazing things.
Yeah, and leave the judgment just for a day. Try it without for a day.
Tomorrow, try it. Set out an I am statement.
Keep
the judgment out and go with it and see how it'll change the direction of tomorrow. Or even tonight, for that matter, and go outside with the moon.
Yeah, this is
and
a
have a
perfect
conversation.
opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, perfect opportunity to go outside and breathe in the beauty of nature and
the cosmos.
And the
cosmos
too.
are here. We're not just the global community. We're the interplanetary, intergalactic community. We're a tiny speck in an ocean of consciousness.
Oh, that's beautiful. A tiny speck in the ocean of consciousness.
So,
and I really truly believe that all of us are, in fact, interconnected. So the more people who get to join you on the journey, the more excitement it is. But definitely pay attention to your intuition, because if you enter a room and you don't really want these people to join you, maybe you'll make that determination at the outset. Wish them well, detach with love, and move on, right?
There you go.
There you go.
It's practical. It's practical.
It's a practical guide, for sure, right? Oh my God. So I want to thank you again for being here with us tonight. So sorry about the technical difficulty initially, but we definitely wanted to come together and share some sweet inspiration as you all go off on your journey in life. And if you want to reach out for help and collaboration along, certainly Liam's here, I'm here, and we all will support each other to rise. So the best to all of you. I'm going to leave you with some blessings and bliss. Remember, we're all here as deliberate creators, and we are deliberate creators of our life. As he said, we all have free will, so it's our choice. So let your soul be guided by your dreams, and let us all raise the positive vibration in this community that we on this planet, and so that we all can live our bliss. So thank you, Liam. Blessings and bliss to all of you.
Everyone.
Anyway, and have a wonderful rest of September as we move into October the next month. We'll see you then. Have a good night. Bye, everybody.